So we're going to hear Justin Paxton. He ranches around here. He's going to tell you a little bit about his experience.
You bet. Still very good.
Tim, point at me when you want me to click it.
Oh, I'm not very good at timing, so you. Oh, thank y'all. I guess I'm the if I can do it, anybody can do it guy is why they've got me standing up here. Like I said, my name's Justin Paxton. I grew up in El Dorado. My family ranches in northwest Slacker County. I live in southeastern Erie County, and I've got leased land kind of scattered all around. And back in June of last year, we went to a meeting in Big Lake over these power lines, and at that point I realized that 4 of the proposed routes ran across land I either lived on, leased, or owned. And I went home and got to talking to my parents and my brother and sister about our home place and told them what was going on. And I talked to some of the landowners of the country I lease and the ranch I live on and told them what was going on. And of course, the people that I lease from don't live on the ranches or even in Erie County, so they didn't really want to do anything about it. My family, on the other hand, said, well, what do we need to do? And I said, well, I think we need to get a lawyer. And so I contacted our family attorney, and he said, this is not my deal. He said, I don't know how to handle the administrative courts. And so he recommended an attorney out of Austin, and I called them, and she said, yeah, she said, that'd be great. We handle this kind of stuff all the time. He said, I'm going to need a $5,000 retainer fee, and I think we're $850 an hour. And she said, I'll work for you as long as you want me to. And I thought, I bet you will. And so I went back to my family and my mom and brother and sister, and they said, no, we can't afford that. We're just not going to get off into that. So I know everybody's kind of against these data centers, but with the help of AI, I got to researching on how to intervene in this deal, and I'm on the 59182 line, which that hearings and all it's over, and they're waiting on the judges to make their decisions. But anyway, the first thing I did was just filed a protest letter, and thought, well, I've done my part. And a friend of mine who's on that same deal, he said, hey, Justin, he said, I liked your protest letter. He said, you need to file a testimony letter to intervene. And I said, well, I don't have any idea how to do that, and I'm not a lawyer. I mean, I graduated from El Dorado, but that's the extent of my education, other than, I've been ranching for 30 years. So anyway, I got some assistance and filed a simple little letter to intervene, and I filed one for my parents, and my brother and sister filed them all at the same time. And it's a pretty simple little deal. And next thing you know, I'm on the docket, and I file a couple of rebuttal testimonies using my AI and this and that, and a friend of mine calls me back and he says, hey, Justin, you got chose to be an intervener. And I said, what? And he said, yeah. He said, look it up. And I did, and my name was on there, but they had kicked my mom, my brother, and sister off for some reason, and I still hadn't figured out that. But so I made it as an intervener, which they said, well, that gets you a seat at the table. And I said, what table is that? I don't know where we're going here. And the next thing you know, I'm called to testify during the hearings. And so I called my mom, and I said, I don't know, Mom. I said, I've gotten into something way over my head here. I said, I'm stepping in the ring with some big boys. And she said, well, see if you can find an attorney. And so luckily, my cousin, who's on the same line, she had already had an attorney working on this. And so I called her, and she said, yeah, I'd love to have you, so jump in with us. And so we worked with an attorney out of Angelo and one out of Austin through our attorney and Angelo, and so I got to go to the hearings and sit through that, and I got cross-examined, and I got to kind of say my spiel on that, and so I felt like I kind of did my part. But one of the things that I learned through all this, and that's what I want to express to y'all, is that it's simple to do, and you don't have to have an attorney to get you in there. And but during all these hearings, there was lots of talk from Encore and the LCRA that, you know, this set of lines over here, nobody protested, nobody tried to intervene on them, so that they must want it over there, since nobody stood up and said anything, and which wasn't the case at all. It was the fact that they didn't know what they were getting into. They were kind of scared to jump off in it, and afraid to hire an attorney, and the cost and the time, and so just to get a protest letter to intervene on that docket, let your voice be heard, and they can't ever come back and say, well, they didn't say anything, so let's put it over there. So that's kind of my big deal looking back. Is I had a lot of neighbors that we approached in the beginning of all this, and and they're the same way. We don't have any big oil and gas wells or whatever coming in. I mean, we just ranch, so it was real hard to kind of look to spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 or more on a fight that you're not sure you're going to win. But if you don't fight, if you don't get your name in there, one of these days you'll look back and say, I wished I had. And since getting to be an intervener, all my neighbors are, yeah, go on, cheering me on, and glad you did it. And the whole time I'm thinking, I sure wished you'd have jumped in there with me. But one of my big deals on this and sitting through the hearings is the fact of how it kind of pits neighbors against neighbors, this whole deal. And, and I don't, if y'all aren't seeing it yet, you will at some point. And to me, that defeats the whole purpose of us coming together. You've got to try to figure out how to fight together to shut these deals down, because otherwise it turns into my land's better than your land. Put it over there, we don't want it here. And you still got to shake those people's hands at the feed store and run into them at the cafe or whatever it is. So I just encourage y'all to step into the fight, and like I said, you don't have to do it with an attorney. This is my simple little testimony, and it did say, it kind of needs to be in a legal format. This is just part of it, the docket number. And it needs to be in a question-answer type deal. And all through the hearings, all the testimonies were this format. And I'm assuming some of the ones they kicked out didn't meet their criteria, so to speak. But if you do get in on that docket, I would advise keeping it handy on your phone so that you can look at it every day or every other day and see what's happening, and see if anybody's, kind of disagreeing with you, or the ALJs, the judges are setting schedules and timelines, and I learned that most of the attorneys quit around 5 o'clock, so if you check those dockets about 4:30, 4:45, pretty much anything and everything's going to be said that day will be turned in about that time. But I guess that's about all I have to say on that.